Hey guys, just around the corner here is where the Titanic was built. But in this building is where Titanic Distillery is. And we find that way more interesting. So we're gonna go inside, speak to Damien about the awesome whiskey that they're making. Come and join us.
Thank you.
Yeah, how you, Damien?
Welcome to Titanic Distillers.
Oh, thank you. Hey guys, we've got Damien here. Damien's gonna take us around Titanic Distillery. We're gonna have a look at just how whiskey is made.
Yeah, this is our visitor centre. We're just in at the moment. We'll maybe just show you around here at the ground floor before we go and see the real stuff.
Oh, that'd be great, yes. No.
So you can see over here, this is our gift shop.
Okay.
It's meant to mirror image of, like, you know, in the sort of shipyards.
Oh yeah, like a...
Back in the day, they would have had like big sort of lockers for all the tools.
Yeah, okay.
You know, they would have been locked up.
Quite industrial. Yeah.
Well, it's such an industrial area, this place, so it's sort of fitting.
Okay.
We've got sort of like our bottle your own here, where we can distillery exclusives. And
Okay.
Fill your own bottle.
Okay.
All our lovely merch here.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Just a reception desk here, and bit of a bar here.
Okay.
And this space here is generally, you know, just a waiting area, and you know, we've a cafe out the back, and if you wish to bring it inside on a cold day like today, there's plenty of seating here.
Okay.
We also use this space, we can clear it out, and we have events here.
Okay.
We've had a wedding, we've had corporate events.
Okay. So you can actually come in here and...
That's right, yeah.
That'd be a great place to have a wedding, to be honest.
It is.
I suppose you don't let anybody in the back.
No, we tend not to let them loose from the distilling equipment, but it's a lovely vibe here and all.
Yeah.
We actually had 5 aunts at a private gig here one night. Yeah,
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
Mind your head.
Absolutely. So this is all the real old part, but you can see we've made a few additions over there.
Yeah, no, it's looking great over there.
Yeah, so just over here is the pump well, where the pump house gets its name. So we can have a look at these pumps. So there we have it.
Okay, geez. And obviously this is none of this is actually operational, or is it?
So this was operational until 2002.
Okay, geez.
Yeah, so there was 900 ships was serviced in the dock here beside us.
Okay.
What we can see is 2 of 3 pumps.
Okay.
So 2 were duty, 1 was standby.
Yeah.
And they drained Thompson Dock here out to my left here, where the Titanic and the Olympic and many other ships were serviced.
Okay.
It was able to drain that dock, which is 23 million gallons in 100 minutes.
The question I was going to ask you is, you don't have any problem with water actually still coming in here?
No, we do.
Is it?
Yeah. You can see the channel at the bottom.
Okay.
We have a couple of pumps just down in the corner here that keep this building dry, and it also pumps any water that ingresses into the docks at the moment. For a bit of context, if it took 100 minutes to drain that entire dock, for these 2 pumps, the 2 big pumps we have in the corner, it takes 24 hours for it to drain just a foot. Gives you a bit of scale.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then we obviously hear about the glorious equipment here.
Absolutely.
So this is where it all starts.
That's right, yes. So this is our mash tun, mash lighter. So we bring through these 2 big doors here, we bring our grain in.
Okay.
So we mash in 500 kilos per brew, or half a ton. So just below our feet is our grist case, just on the other side there.
Okay.
We fill it up with the half ton.
Yeah.
And then this distillery is it's automated. It's pretty automated. So when it's time to call a brew, I can just start the conveyors up, and they convey the grist up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
It mixes with hot water into the mash tun here.
Okay.
So 1,500 litres of hot water mixed with a half ton. And that hot water is like 69 degrees exactly.
Okay.
And then we do our mash rest at 64 degrees for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And that gives us enough time to convert all that starch
into the sugars in there.
That's right, yeah. The distiller's malt is generally malted different to, say, a brewer's malt.
Okay.
Different sort of parameters that we're looking for.
Yeah.
We're generally trying to get the maximum amount of extraction out of the malt as best we can, as well as flavour. But generally, it's all about extraction.
Trying to get as much sugars out,
correct,
to get as much alcohol out at the end of the day. And the yeast that I use, is that also just a high, high ABV pushing?
Yeah. So I've come from a brewing background, so I'm very familiar with the broad range of yeasts that are available. But the thing is, in distilling, we don't have any sort of thermal control on our washbacks or our fermenters. So we use a blend. We use some distiller's yeast, which gets the job done. It ferments it out and does that. We also use a bit of Kvike. So sort of kicks out those tropical notes, real fruity flavors, which is desirable in single malts. It's generally with single malts you want that sort of real fruit bowl flavors. And then traditionally in distilleries they would use, like say, wooden washbacks. They wouldn't be cleaned that well and different things. And then themselves provide loads of flavour, and the main sort of flavour coming from that is lactobacillus. So we use a little bit of lactobacillus bacteria into it, so because everything here is stainless steel. But we control that. We don't go too mad with it. So you can see, like, we've only got the one vessel here. It's not like a brewery where you've got four.
Multiple,
so the wort that we collect and we chill down and push into our washbacks here. So we collect about 2,500 litres when we pitch our yeast. So within 48 hours to 72 hours, fermentation is effectively complete. We've got our high ABV, jobs done. But here we do things a bit differently. We sort of push that out a bit longer. We tend to ferment for 120 hours minimum. So what we're encouraging there is a bit of malolactic fermentation. So we're getting more and more complexity built into the wash. So by the end of it, in my opinion, it tastes very like a Belgian beer. It's quite fruity. It's a lot of complexity going on.
And what sort of ABV are you aiming for in the fermenters? 8%. So it's not horribly high. That I would think that you guys would want to push it higher, but I mean 8% it's a strong beer. But
I suppose it's about repeatability and efficiency. Generally our sort of KPIs are based on how much spirit you can extract from a ton of malt. So whenever you've hit your numbers, you're hitting your numbers here, that you're going to hit your numbers.
You're going to get your numbers that side. Right.
So, like, for example, if you've got 2,500 litres at 8% alcohol, you're going to get 200 litres of pure alcohol out the other end. So that's generally how we would monitor things here. So you can see here we've got 6 washbacks. We've got 2 sticking up. These are just the tips of the iceberg. And then we've got 4 underneath our feet, but they're all the same size. So whenever things are fermenting here, you can look down in on a tour here. You can look down in and see the fermentation bubbling away, and the smell is incredible.
Getting the stuff in here, was that a challenge with this old buildings? And I know with the historical buildings that you got to worry about stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing about the historical building is you have to go through so many committees to get so many things passed, and I think it took the best part of 5 years to get the correct people all on board, and, to have the approvals to do things. But the actual construction of it, once we got through all that, the crane that's up above our heads here, that was originally installed in 1907. And we had it recommissioned to be able to bring all the materials through them big doors. And the crane was able to drop every little piece of steel work here, all the vessels, all the pipe work, the stills as well. So
that's amazing. So from the fermenters, it's coming through to this side, is that correct?
That's right, yes. So the fermenters, we call them washbacks. And the wort that's fermented, we don't call that beer, we call that wash. So just to be awkward. And then the wash that's fully fermented, we do all our analysis on it and checks and ensure that it's ready for distillation. When we pump it across, we bring it over to this still here. We're very inventive. It's called the wash still. So the wash fills up to about this level here, 2,500 litres. And essentially there's a big kettle or a big pot, and we apply heat. So it's an externally heated wash still. So that means that the wash is brought out, heated through a heat exchanger, and then pumped back in. Whereas years and years ago there would have been an actual fire, direct fire. So it's a little bit safer and it's easier to clean.
I can imagine, especially when you've got high ABV stuff running around.
So we've got our 8% alcohol in here inside the wash. When we start to add the heat, it starts to bring this gently up from say 30 degrees, and we're starting to ramp up the temperature. Alcohol will boil at a lower temperature than water. So as soon as that alcohol starts to boil off, it makes its way up through the neck here, up through the neck, around the swan neck, along this horizontal piece here called the line arm, and then it meets our condenser. And you can see the colour change there between the sort of hot side and then the cold side. So that's where the vapor will condense into a liquid.
All right.
So as that liquid has condensed, it'll come through this bowl here.
Okay.
So I can actually sit at my desk and watch the flow.
What's happening there.
And the reason is that I want to see a nice steady flow. I don't want to see that charging or like trickling. You want to see a nice constant even flow.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know that you've got a nice even heat.
Yeah. All right.
Whereas if it's trickling, you need more heat. You're up it. If it's surging, there's something not right.
Yeah.
So
I know everything's quite automated, but this is quite hands-on almost.
Yeah, it's automated to a point. Like we do have automated controls on it.
Okay.
Wherever I can override that manually and keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
The liquid that we collect off this, we call that low wind.
Okay.
And it sort of settles around 25%.
Okay.
And it's about roughly a third of the volume that we have pumped in will collect.
Okay.
So that volume, or that low wind that we've collected, we pump it in.
Move over to the next one.
That's right. So this is the second still.
Okay.
And you can see it's a good bit smaller.
Yes, yeah.
Same process again, heat it up.
Okay.
And this time the liquid, turns into vapor and it makes its way across through the line arm, condenses.
Okay.
And then you can see it into these bowls.
All right.
But this time you can see there's two bowls.
Yes.
And this is where we can do what we call making our cut.
Okay.
So not all alcohol is equal. So the real volatile alcohol that comes off the stills first at the lower temperature, it's sort of like methanol. It's quite pungent.
Okay, heavy,
It's very, very light, it'll burn your eyes. You don't really want that in your finished product. So we can actually direct the flow and send that to a different receiver.
Okay, all right.
And then as time goes by, that changes to what we call the heart.
Okay.
That's the main body of the spirit that we want to keep.
The first one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is called the head?
That's right, yes, the heads, And then the middle part's the heart. That's the real good stuff. So we'll turn the arm to collect that.
Okay.
And that's the real good quality stuff.
Okay, and is there any reason why this is all under lock and case kind of thing? Is that just
it's
security?
An historic measure that. So years ago, the tax man, he obviously low-hanging fruit taxes distillers. They would have had the only key for the safe because they didn't want distillers pinching.
Okay, all right.
Pretty much. But now everything's so automated and there's so many checks and things that it's pretty hard to fool them.
All right.
But the liquid that we collect then from
this one is going to move over to the next one, or
we call that strong faint.
Okay.
It's roughly around 55 to 65% alcohol.
Okay.
We then
move it over to the next one. Yeah. All right.
This is where we get that's what we call triple distillation then.
Okay. All right.
So same process, heat it up, and you can see the two bowls where we can make our cuts.
Okay.
So it's the hearts of the middle, or the third still, is the spirit that goes into our cask.
All right.
So it's a lot of work to go from there,
and then in this sort of process, what is a typical kind of length that you running?
The wash still will run for about 6 hours.
Okay.
And similar sort of time for these two as well.
So all right.
It's batches.
Okay.
So any one time we've got potentially 10 batches here. You've got 1 in the mash tun, you've got 5 in the wash backs.
Okay.
You've got 3 in here, and then you've got a couple in the receivers down here.
Okay.
So you're always juggling batches. Just like one in,
moving across and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's a lot of time and energy that's obviously goes into your final product at the end of it.
Yeah. So generally, the heart that we've collected here, we'll collect 4 of them in our receivers, and then we'll put that into an ABC. And then about 10 ABCs will be taken off to go and get filled into the casks.
Okay.
And that's the next part of the process.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's go talk about casks then.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. So Damien, thank you for taking us around the distillery. Awesome place. We're going to chat a little bit about the actual barrels now. So these are the staves that go into making a barrel.
Yes, so these 2 staves are from an American oak barrel, or what we call an AB1.
All right.
So it's an ex-bourbon barrel from Kentucky.
And all whiskies that you're getting, or that you were saying that they're coming in from America, that correct?
So we tend to use, here in Titanic Distillers, we'll fill our new make spirit into ex-American bourbon.
Okay.
The reason being is, so in the States, there's quite a lot of surplus of casks there, because due to their laws of how they make bourbon, they can only use a cask one time only.
All right.
So it's a brand new cask that's been coopered from native oak trees.
Okay.
They use it in their production for maybe 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
and then once it's emptied out, it's for sale.
Okay, and they can't use it again.
That's right. Yeah. So
yeah.
our the rules for Irish whiskey state they can only be a wooden cask.
Okay.
So there's no stipulation on what type of wood or
Yeah.
how. So we since there's a lot of excess wood floating around over in Kentucky, we tend to use them.
Okay.
And then it sort of because it's been away for so long.
Yeah.
Sort of Irish whiskey's evolved into that sort of like ex-bourbon sort of heavy forward spirit. So
Okay.
that's why we tend to use the ex-bourbons.
Okay.
There's also a lot going on within the cask as well. These ones here are, if you stand them up, they're actually 200 litre casks.
Okay.
So this is like one of many staves that go around, and 200 litres is like almost like the perfect surface to liquid ratio.
Okay.
So 3 years of maturation in a bourbon cask is like exactly what you
need to do to get the perfect amount.
That's right.
And the charring of it, you were telling us about the importance of the charring and the different levels of that?
Yes, so these American ones are charred, but you can get, say, French oak casks that are what we'd call toasted.
Okay.
So they haven't quite been as heavily impacted with heat. And then these charred ones are like, they're literally set on fire. And there's like this is quite brushed, but the whole surface is like an alligator skin.
Okay.
And it's quite so like charcoal.
Like charcoal, all right.
That's right.
And what does that charring actually do in a barrel for the whiskey?
So the charring, the sort of heat degradation of sort of the natural compounds within the wood, create. So there's lignin. This is quite a prevalent compound in wood. Once it gets above 200 degrees, produces sort of like vanillin flavour. So that's that common vanilla flavour you get off a bourbon or off an Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
And not only that, the charcoal helps like charcoal filtering.
Okay.
It helps sort of remove some of the unwanted compounds that might be in your whiskey, like sulphur, for example.
Yeah.
That would be developed through fermentation. That could be removed from the char.
Okay. And I know these ones you were saying were American oak. Do you only use oak, or is there any other woods that?
In Ireland, we can use any type of wood. However, it's well known that oak is the best for in sort of tighter grains.
Okay.
Like there's the cellulose grains inside that are like plug the grains.
Okay.
It allows the liquid to sort of more watertight, really. So we don't get as much losses.
Okay. And does that impact on flavour as well? I presume the oaks, or getting that oaky taste that everybody likes.
That's right. Yeah. So like oak will have different like compounds available there, and then during the maturation they'll be extracted and into the liquid. You can use, like, for example, chestnut.
All right.
Provides a really unique flavour. But the thing is, after a couple of years of maturation, you might be disappointed to find half your liquid's gone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So because it's quite a loose grain, it would leak quite a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the oak, a lot more tight, more solid. So generally, we tend to lose about 2% volume per year.
All right, sure.
So it's compounds. So every year you're losing 2% of the volume.
Okay. And then I know we were chatting earlier on about the actual the cooperage of this and the manufacturing of this, and it's still a very hands-on. You can't get a machine to make these.
No, you
guys
cannot. And even like when you think about the effort it takes to get a barrel in front of us to fill with whiskey, like a mature oak tree in America needs to be at least 80 years old before it can be cut down to cut into staves.
All right.
And then at the stave mill, the staves are stacked for a minimum of about 3 years to allow seasoning to dry out the wood, to sort of like set the dimensions of the staves. And then the coopers take the staves and they sort of trim them to shape. So you can see they're slightly wider at the belly and narrow at the top. And you've got all these little features here where the heads sit in.
Yeah, and that's all like handmade.
This hasn't really changed in maybe thousands of years. Like the Romans started this. And then you sort of steam the stave as well to make that
get the curve.
The bow.
Okay.
And then as you can see, like a barrel can really be maneuverable.
Yeah.
They can spin. And then this belly also helps for like disgorging the liquid out. So it all just runs down to a point when you're emptying it.
All right.
So there's a lot of clever tricks happening here. And to be able to make a vessel that's so watertight by hand, it's an incredible skill.
Yeah, and there's no sealing that happens in between the staves as well.
There's no gluing,
there's just held on with pure pressure and.
That's right. And generally we as a distillers, we'll be looking for a cask that's still what we could say drunk, to get drunk. They're still wet. You still have a bit of liquid still in the cask.
Okay.
If you've got a dry cask, you're more than likely going to
get a good.
Yeah, because it'll shrink.
The shrinking and stuff like that.
Whereas if it's maintained wet, it'll
still be tight on there. Okay, right. And you were just saying about the. I'm not too sure if you can get this on the camera, but the color difference, and you were saying that this is where the kind of whiskies.
That's right. Yes,
penetrate.
That like tide line. That sort of brown mark. That's where the spirit has penetrated into the wood through maybe the summer seasons when it's a bit warmer.
Okay.
Goes into the wood, and then the colder winter seasons it comes back out.
Okay.
And then that in and out throughout the seasons over the years gives whiskey that distinctive colour, but also its flavour and aroma that you would expect from a maturation. It's said that 50% of the flavour and aroma from whiskey comes from the cask and maturation.
Is it just sherry and bourbon? You don't try any other?
So at the moment, like we're just laying down into bourbons, but down the line when we know how our matured stock's tasting, if we want to add some flavours in, we can. We can use ex-cognac, we can use fortified wines, red wines, white wines. You know, the list is endless, really. Use Tabasco if you wished.
All right. And would you, obviously 200 litres you're getting out of here, would you start blending to get different flavours, like a blending, or is it just one barrel, single barrel sort of stuff?
No, generally. So like if we're coming to do our, say, inaugural release, we'll do a survey of, you know, everything we have and start to pull together casks and see what will go well together. And if we feel like we need a little few more months, you know, we can do that. And but that's where science meets art. You know, the blending is really the art. You know, is pulling together all those flavours and making consistency as well.
Yes.
And but because we're the production that we have isn't huge, every barrel is going to count. Yeah. So we're really focusing on the quality of our casks and ensuring that not only we select the correct cask, it's matured for the right amount of time, it's handled properly, and then blended together perfectly.
Yeah. All right. So we've got our whiskies in the barrels. Now we've got to get them into bottles, ready for us to drink. Just run us through that process quickly. So how does that work?
So yeah, if you've figured out on your blend, and this is exactly what we're going to do, we'll generally go to the warehouse, select the casks that are set for that blend. It could be anywhere from 2 to 100 casks, or maybe even more, depending on the size of the production. The production run. So all the casks are taken down, opened, nosed by the blender. So we have to nosed and then sampled to make sure that
getting the right,
everything is right. There's no off flavors going into that. If you notice on top of a barrel, there's a little bung hole. They're just popped out. And then the barrels are gently just rolled
into place.
Rolled in on top of like a
straw. That's where the balancing and the shapes help.
That's right, yeah. It's a bit of skill to be able to know where to position your cask so that it rolls perfectly
on the top there,
So it rolled perfectly onto the what we call a disgorging trough. So all the liquid is just dumped down into this trough and then pumped into a vatting tank. And it's in that vatting where the liquid's all blended together over maybe 24 hours. Take the strength and then sample it for analysis. And then we determine how much water is added to reduce it down to bottle.
To get it to the correct sort of levels. All right, and then so it comes out the barrel and it's quite a high strength, you were saying, and then you water that down?
Yeah, we water it down to, say, for example, 46%. So a cask strength is what would come out of the cask as is, with no water added. So depending on the age, how long that's been in the cask will determine the strength. But generally you're talking about the high 50s.
All right.
So
and then you take it down to your 40?
Yeah, 40, 46, whatever it would, or anywhere in between, but not less than 40.
Oh, great. So Damien, thank you very much for taking us through. This building is fantastic. Give us a little bit of a rundown on the history of the building and Titanic Distillery itself.
So this building was constructed in 1907, and it's called obviously the Pumphouse. And its main purpose was to literally pump out the water from the docks of Thompson Dock and also Alexandra Dock behind us. So it was in operation as an active working shipyard right up until 2002. And it was owned and operated by Harland and Wolff in town. And so after 2002, it sort of fell into a bit of disrepair. So this shipyard, or this dock was decommissioned really, and so it fell a bit into disrepair for quite a while. There was tours operated here for the historic sort of Titanic fans and different things. We've been able to walk around the top area of the distillery out here and down into the dock. But Titanic Distillers originally was founded by Peter Lavery. He's a local man from Belfast. He had a couple of other sort of whiskey brands that he was hoping to get going in a different location in Belfast. However, that didn't work out for a few other reasons, and then discovered that this building here had come up for sale, for lease. He took it on the lease and ran the cafe and the tours with the idea of turning it into a distillery down the line, because he owned the rights and the copyright to Titanic Distillers and Titanic whiskey. And he released a Titanic whiskey in 2011 for the 100-year anniversary of the ship. Those bottles are still floating around today. You know, they're
probably worth a bit.
they're rare now. Totally different design and different sort of liquid and different things. But fast forward a few years, he met with two other business partners, and between the three of them, they come up with this idea to turn this into the distillery. So it was about 5 years in the making to get all the planning and all the T's crossed and the I's dotted to be able to get the distillery in. And in August last year, 17th of August last year was, it was 2 years ago now, we distilled our first drop of spirit, and that was the first new make single malt that had been produced in Belfast in almost 90 years. So we created a little bit of history back there. So there's a lot of history in this building.
In the building itself,
for the ship's reason, but now also for Irish whiskey reasons. There's more history being produced.
And this is, if I'm not mistaken, the only distillery in Belfast?
So we're not the only distillery. There's another distillery, Crumlin Road Jail.
Yes.
But whilst we're in Belfast, this is County Down, County Antrim.
All right. And then the actual whiskey itself, what do you guys got?
So this is our main core range. So we have, it's our blend. So it's a complex blend of 5 different types of whiskey. A lot of people sort of associate Irish whiskey with triple distillation, unpeated. And that's it. Whereas we sort of broke the mold a wee bit here. We've got double distilled liquid in there. We've got peated liquid in there. So, you know, it's a really complex blend.
So it's quite a unique whiskey in itself.
So the sort of what we were sort of trying to aim for was like what we call the Belfast style. It's robust. You know, it's hardy. It's got a bit of smoke in there because you can imagine 150 years ago, like the smoke would have been everywhere. So it's just a wisp of smoke in there. It's more used as an ingredient as to be the core backbone of it. So that's our blend. Early next year, we're releasing another core product, which is a pot still whiskey. And pot still whiskey is really just a different sort of process in the distillation production to be able to make a different. So that's a 5-year-old age statemented product that's coming out now soon. We also have a release coming out next week. We've done in collaboration with our brewery.
With our brewery guys,
So we're really excited with that. As it's a limited to just 3 casks only. So it's what we call the Pumphouse series. So it's different expressions that we've made here in the Pumphouse, but have got our own sort of take on things. So it'll be a different label, so it's markedly different.
And that one, I know that was the Terra Nocturne, which is a barrel-aged stout. You guys took your whiskey, aged it in there for, how long was that?
So I believe your stout was in there for 20 months. So we then took those casks off you. We put our whiskey in for 6 months. So it went in on the 17th of June. So the height of summer, perfect time for the wood, straight into the wood. And we are bottling it off now in a couple of days. So we're really looking forward to that.
And that'll be on sale very soon?
Very soon, yes. Monday week,
And you got some great whiskey here.
Thank you.
Where do we buy it?
You'll find our whiskey, well, on trade, you'll find it in most bars in Belfast. So if you're a fan of Belfast for a night out, you'll see it in most bars. And then on trade, you'll see it in Tesco's and Sainsbury's,
Okay.
you know, in their supermarket aisles.
Okay.
And then also in a lot of the independent
Okay,
off licenses.
Okay, and have you got an online store for people?
We do,
there?
yes. So we have an online store, and you can buy not just more of the whiskey. You can book tours for the
Yes.
distillery.
Okay.
You can also, there's various other. We've also have a vodka for sale.
All right.
Which uses Irish sugar beet.
Okay.
So it's a bit more a strange one now,
Yeah.
but it's a very unique flavour profile.
Yeah.
And then we've got other items of merch and different
Okay.
things. And also in our shop here, if you
Okay.
come down to the distillery, you can buy the whiskey here, but also we have distillery exclusives there where you can bottle your own whiskey
All right.
and take it home.
All right. Great. And I think to end this off, I'm definitely going to have to give some of your whiskey a try. So
Please
let's
do.
give it a go.
Yeah.
So this is that same one.
This is our blend.
Okay.
This is our core product.
All right. I'm not a whiskey connoisseur, but I can definitely smell a nice kind of sweetness.
Yeah, so the makeup of our blend, like I said, it was complex. 72% of it is grain whiskey,
Okay.
and 28% is single malt.
Okay.
Within that single malt, we have 15% double distilled 7-year-old,
Okay.
10% peated malt, and then 3%
That-
sherry.
Yeah, that is that very slight peated kind of smell
The
coming
wisp,
there.
yeah, wisp of smoke.
Yeah.
It's beautifully balanced with that sherry as well for a
Yeah.
bit of sweetness.
Oh, let's launch it.
Let's launch it.
That is delicious. That is for a whiskey. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a whiskey connoisseur, but I definitely drink more of this.
Please do.
It's surprisingly smooth. It's not as harsh as you get sometimes on a whiskey, but thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So guys, come down to Titanic Distillery. You're going to find some great whiskey in a lovely building. Come for a tour, buy some whiskey, buy some of their special stuff as well. And as always, guys, happy brewing.